Daniel here for Tabletop for One. Please join me at the table as I teach and play through Midhalla. And I thank you for joining me for this tutorial and solo playthrough of Midhalla. Midhalla is designed by Eike and Meyer of Fyrnwest Games. And they have Midhalla coming to Kickstarter later on this year. I will have relevant links in my description if you'd like to follow the campaign there. Now in Midhalla, this is a dungeon crawling tower defense kind of theme with a Viking background. And you're going to be protecting the gate from the oncoming horde of monsters and other creatures while leveling up your heroes, building traps, gaining items, and doing all sorts of things like that. And so for this tutorial, I'm going to be doing the Chapter 1 scenario, which is the first tutorial scenario, the first of two. The scenario is meant to introduce the mechanics to you, kind of get you used to how to move around the map, and place your characters and do different actions, as well as build traps and other things. And for the setup here, we're going to go ahead and set the main board here. This includes the gate room here and two fortified rooms. The gate room here is the room which the monsters will try to access to damage the gate, which is represented by this die here, this 20 hit point die. So the gate has 20 hit points. Up here we have our tracker for silver and gems, and we don't start out with any of those for this scenario here. As a solo player, you're going to be playing with two characters, so you'll be playing with Harkon the Dregner and Enyk the Herbalist. You'll see their character boards here, and you're going to set these up with the two ultimate attacks covered at the top here. You'll gain the go through for the throat ability for the level 1 slot here for Harkon, and this shows all the abilities that he currently has. Now, when you're actually playing the game, you're going to be choosing a top action and a bottom action to do each round. You'll move one of these to one of those actions, performing that action, and then you'll move to one of the bottom ones, performing that action. In subsequent turns, you won't be able to use the actions that are currently being blocked by those discs. So in this case here, if this was the next round, I would have to choose from these three actions first, and then I would have to choose one of these two actions second. You, of course, can get other upgrades later, and you'll see that in this playthrough. Now, his hit points here starts out at 6 as marked on his board, so we'll use this die to count his points. And then you can use this action disc to remember whether this character has gone in a turn or not. I probably won't be using that much during the playthrough. Now with Harkon here, he has different abilities. On this top abilities here, we have a move 1 with an armor 1, an attack 2, and then a pierce with an attack 1 plus X, where X is the enemy's armor. Now armor 1 indicates that he gets to block 1 damage from each different attack that he gains during that round. And we'll see that early on in this playthrough. On the bottom here, he has an attack 2 times attack 1, where he can attack 2 different enemies in the same space, or attack the same enemy twice, and then attack 3 here. Unless the abilities say otherwise, they're always within a range of 0, meaning in the same space. Range 1 would be 1 space away, range 2 is 2 spaces away, and so on. There's no line of sight in this game, so around the corners is fine. And so we have Enyk here, and Enyk has 5 hit points starting out. She has movement of 1 here, movement 2. She also has attack 1 and then heal 1 within a range 1. And then the Sacred Fire is her starting first level ability here, where she can heal 1 within a range of 1 or attack 1. And then on her bottom abilities here, we have an attack 2, and a heal 2 with a range of 2. Alright, so you're going to set up the first tiles here. You'll have the 8A tile here facing this direction. And then you have the 7A tile here facing this direction. And then the 2A tile here facing this direction. And so according to the rule book, you're going to have a rune golem starting in this space here. Now, bear in mind, these are all prototype components, so these are just thin cardstock right now. They should be upgraded to cardboard or other materials and that will be revealed during the campaign. I don't have them in their stands, so you can see them easily laying flat here. So the Rune Golem's going to go in this space here, the Kobold Warrior over here, and then a Kobold Archer right here. And then we're going to lay out their different cards here as reference points. Now the Rune Golem here, he has Armor 1 as one of his abilities, so he absorbs the first damage of each attack. And then this shows what kind of targets he's aiming for. So he's targeting the traps with the highest hit points. He'll do X damage where it's 2 against the trap or 1 against the gate. He's going to start out with 9 hit points as indicated here for 2 players. Again, as solo, you're going to be controlling 2 characters, so you use that as a reference point. So he'll have 9 points of health. Now, if he was, let's say if it was a 4-player, he'd start out with a hit point disc here, as well as plus 10, so you'd add 1 here on the 10, indicating that he has a total of 15 points. But that's not going to be the case here. He's going to have 9 points. And so we'll go ahead and set a disc there. And then the Kobold Archer here, it has an attack of range of 2. It's going to be targeting heroes first, and then the gate if it can't reach the heroes. It can attack up to 2 spaces away, meaning that, let's say I had a hero right here, and the archer's right here, it could attack that hero right now, because that's 2 spaces away. Now the archer is going to have 5 hit points starting out there. And then for the Kobold Warrior here, the Kobold Warrior has evasion. That means the first attack each round is going to be a miss on him. And so that's going to be indicated by his little evasive token here. So when you attack him the first time, you'll flip this over and it'll cancel that attack. And then any subsequent attack that round will be a hit. Now, at the end of his following turn, this will flip back over and he'll be evasive again. His target is going to be other players, and then he's going to attack for 2 damage. Again, if he can't reach a player, he'll go for the gate. He also has 5 hit points, just like the archer. Now, normally, you're going to have different phases of the game. You're going to start off with exploration, which lets you choose different paths, like let's say you wanted to explore H here, or B over here. You'll explore those paths. They'll have reference points in the books to advance the story and give you different things. Sometimes you'll unlock new items or traps or that sort of thing. We'll see that after our first combat of the game. Then you would go into preparation where you'd spend resources. You could exchange items, buy traps. You'd then spawn new enemies and then position heroes. Now, both of these phases don't happen in this first part of this chapter. It goes straight into the combat phase, which is the 3rd phase here. And so the 3rd phase has enemy turns first, and then trap turns, and then hero turns. And this recycles until all enemies are dead or the game is lost. And that's with the gate HP hitting 0, or all hit points of the heroes is now 0. Now there is a priority by which you activate each of the monsters. You're going to start with the gate here, and then you're going to, if there's nothing activated here, then you go to the right. If there's nothing to activate here, then you keep going to the right. And then you'll go, to the right, or then down, and then right. And then if you finish off a branching path, you'll go back to that branching path crossroads, and keep making your way down until you finish out the right side of the tunnels. And then you start back at the gate here, which is a crossing path of itself, because there's 2 different ways to go here. And then you go left, and then keep working your way that way. It'll make sense as I go, but there's a detailed diagram in the rule book that explains how to do that, especially when the paths get a little more complicated. And so in this case here, we go to the right here, and the first thing that's going to happen is the Rune Golem is going to try and activate. Now, the way enemies activate is they're going to first try to attack their target. His target is traps. There are no traps in his space. In fact, there are none on the board. So at that point, he's going to try to attack the gate. Well, he's not in range of the gate, so he can't attack the gate. So then he's going to move. And so he'll move 1 space. Now, enemies will not move and then attack. They'll either attack or move. And so in this case here, he just moves and that ends his turn. Next up, we go to the left now, since there are no more paths that way on the right. We'll go to the left here, and we go to the the Kobold Warrior here. And of course, his target is other players, and he can't attack anyone right now, so he's going to try and attack the gate, which he can't, so he'll move forward towards the gate. And the same thing goes with the archer here. There's nothing in range, so he also is going to move. And at this point, then, it would be the trap's turn if there were any traps, but there are not. And so we go on to the player's turn. Now, you get to choose who you want to activate each round, but each one has to be activated completely. You can't do one action on one, then one action on the other. You have to finish out your actions and finish out the turn for each character separately. And so we'll go ahead and use Harkon. We're going to move and block. And so that block is going to give us a little defensive token here, which will be removed at the start of his next turn. And so he's going to move one space, and we'll move into this spot here. And then we want to attack that Kobold Warrior. Well, he's got an evasive, so we're actually going to use Cleave, which does 2 attacks of 1 damage each. The first attack is going to cause the evasion, and then the second attack's going to hit, bringing him down 1 hit point. So now he's at 4 hit points. And that's going to end Harkon's turn. Now, if he had an ultimate ability available, which he does not, he could use one of those as a free action. But in this case, this is all he can do. And so next we're going to go with Enyk the Herbalist, and she's going to go ahead and advance 1 space. And since the evasion's down for the Kobold Warrior, Enyk's going to go ahead and attack for 2 damage. And that's going to bring the Kobold Warrior down to 2 health. Now at this point we go back to the start of the combat phase, and it's the enemy's turn. Again, following the order of operations, we're going to head this way. It's the Rune Golem. He doesn't have a target in his space, so he's going to move 1 space closer. Now he's within range of the gate, so next turn he will be able to attack the gate. And next up is the Kobold Warrior, and the Kobold Warrior is going to attack one of the player characters. We get to choose which one. Since Harkon has defense right now, we're going to go ahead and take that damage. It would be 2 damage. The defense brings it down by 1, so he's down to 5 damage. And then next up is the archer here, and the archer's going to also shoot one of these 2 characters. And so we're going to choose Harkon again to take that. Again, reducing it by 1, so he only takes 1 damage. And that ends the second round of combat for the enemies. Again, we have no traps at this point. We move on to the hero characters. And so the Kobold Warrior did get his evasion back, so we have to decide how we want to do that. I think what we can do right now is we can do a quick slash, and that's going to get rid of the evasion. And then we'll do engage, and that'll be an attack 2, and that will kill off the Kobold Warrior. And so now he's dead, and we'll remove him from the board. And then that ends Harkon's turn. So next we're going to move Enyk. We'll use the move 2, but we're only going to move 1 space into this spot here. And then we'll attack 2, and that's going to hit the Kobold Archer for 2, bringing it down to 3 hit points. And so we're now back to the enemy's turn. The Golem is going to attack the gate for 1. And then the Kobold Archer is going to shoot, and we're going to let it hit Enyk, bringing Enyk down to 3 hit points now. And now it's our turn again. And so for Enyk, we're going to use the Throw Flask, which is attack 1, and that'll bring the Archer down 1. And then heal 1, and so we'll heal Enyk back up 1 hit point to 4. And then on the bottom action, we'll do an attack 2, and that's going to kill off the Kobold Archer. All right, so now it's Harkon's turn. Harkon's going to go and move 1 space here, and then use Overpower, which is an attack 3. Now, the Rune Golem has armor 1, so that's going to reduce it by 1, and that'll do 2 damage, bringing it down to 7. Now it's Golem's turn. Golem's going to attack the gate, bringing it down to 18. There are no other enemies, so it goes back to our turn. And so we'll go ahead and do a heal 1 here with the Sacred Fire, bringing Enyk back up to 5 health, full health. And then we'll use the Aether's Blessing, and that'll heal 2 on Harkon, bringing him back up to full health as well. That'll end Enyk's turn. And then Harkon is going to go ahead and do a quick slash. Actually, let's do go for the throat. It's pierce. So it's attack 1 plus 1 being the armor 1 for the golem. So it'd be 2 damage that's pierced. So it ignores armor. And then we'll use engage, which is 2 damage but minus 1 from the armor, and it'll just do 1 more damage. So now the rune golem is down to 4 health. At this point, the gate is going to take 1 more damage here from the golem's turn, and then we go back to our turn. And then so at this point here, we'll just go ahead and keep attacking with Harkon. He's going to do a quick slash, dealing 1 damage net after the armor, and then we'll do overpower, dealing 2 more damage, bringing him down to 1 health left. And next we will sprint with Enyk, moving 2 spaces, and then do engage, which is attack 2 minus 1 for armor, but killing off the rune golem. So at this point here, you would actually now go on to the rewards phase. And so for this particular scenario, each hero would reset 1 ultimate ability. And we'll go ahead and reset this one here for Enyk. It's Fyrndarl's Roots, which is a pierce attack, attack 3, range anywhere. And that sounds really good. And then we'll just go ahead and take Spot Weakness here. It's a pierce attack, attack 3 with Harkon. And then we remove our tokens here from the board. We will start afresh in the next scenario, part of the scenario. And then we get to upgrade 2 of our skills here. What would happen here is you would draw a number of skills from the level 2 deck equal to the number of players plus 2. And so you draw 4, and then each character would pick 1. I've drawn these ahead of time, and so we're going to go with block and bloody wound. And so block has attack 1, armor 1, and retaliate 2, and then bloody wound has bleed 2. I'm going to give block to Enyk, and it goes on the bottom slot. You'll notice that actually on these here, there's a little arrow here at the top right that tells you that it fits in a bottom slot. Level 3 ones actually can go in either slot, but these have to go in the bottom slots. And so we'll place block here for Enyk, and then a bloody attack or bloody wound there for Harkon. And then on top of that, we're going to gain 6 silver according to the book here. And now at this point, we'd go on to the exploration phase, where we're going to explore the various caverns here. And so the book tells you, if you choose which path you want to explore. And so if you choose B right now, which is this one down here, then it says, if you haven't yet explored H, read verse 105. Otherwise, place tile 3A and read verse 107. So in the book, it actually has different parts of the story here. And so you'll read each of the excerpts here and do what it says after it. And eventually, one of the excerpts will tell you to then end the exploration phase and move on to the preparation phase. And so I'm going to go ahead and skip over reading that, because I want you to discover that for yourself if you end up backing this game. I'm going to go ahead and reset the board exactly how it would happen, and kind of going to explain what we ended up getting from those explorations. All right, so a variety of things have happened in our exploration. First of all our hit points got refilled, although we were at full hit points. Harkon got his other ultimate ability refreshed as well, so now he has 2 ultimate abilities. The gate was further damaged, bringing it down to 15 now. And then we have the spawning of a Wolf Clan Shaman and a Demon Bear. Both of these characters are going to be targeting the gate. The Demon Bear is going to do straight up 3 damage against the gate. And the Wolf Clan Shaman is going to heal another enemy with the most missing hit points within the range of 1. And it'll target the gate and trying to attack it for 2 damage. And so our goal here is going to be to defeat every enemy. Now, we're not done summoning all the enemies. Before we move on from there, we actually earned some traps now. So we have a blade trap and a spike trap. And there on here, it tells you a variety of information. So up here, it tells you how many possible traps you can buy and how many hit points they start with. And then it tells you the different levels. So you can upgrade some of these if you pay for it using the different abilities or different items and stuff. The first level costs 4 silver. And then to upgrade this costs 1 gem and 1 specific trap part. Now for this particular scenario, we will only be using level 1 traps. And so for this blade trap, it does 2 attacks for 1 damage each. Now for the spike trap here, we have a pierce attack of 1 damage and it costs $2. And it has hit points of 3, and then I can have up to 3 of them. Now, one of the things you need to know regarding the rules here is you can only place traps in fortified areas. Fortified areas are indicated by this coin symbol in the upper left-hand corner here. You can only have 2 traps on one of those fortified areas at a time, and you can't put them on the gate map tile here, this spot right here. And so the only 2 spots I can put them are here and here. And so we're going to have to go ahead and build them right now. And we have 6 silver, so I think I'm just going to go with 1 of each, since the blade trap costs 4, bringing us down to 2, and then the spike trap costs 2, bringing us down to 0. And so you take these little nifty traps here, we have the spike trap here and the blade trap here, put their appropriate hit points, and place them on the tile that you want them on. I think we'll put them both here because we have that big bear coming this way and the wolf shaman, and we'll want to trap them that way. And now at this point, we need to spawn the enemies. And so you take the leftover enemies for the scenario. The game has you set aside the enemies ahead of time. So there are 6 leftover enemies. You shuffle these and then you deal these out. And so they're going to be in priority again. So we're working this way here. Now, enemies cannot spawn in fortified rooms. So we're working the way to the right here. We skip this room since it's fortified. So we're going to spawn one here. And that's going to be the Draugr Horde. And so the Draugr Horde is an undead enemy, and it's a horde enemy. So these are special keywords that indicate various things I'll explain in a moment. It targets anything and it attacks for 2. Now, the undead means that you can actually attack it with healing and ignore armor. And so you can use healing as damage. But the horde here reduces any attacks down to 1 or bleed down to 1 when those instances happen. So this can only take 1 damage from each attack at a time. And so this one will get set here. It has 8 hit points, and we'll place this token right here. And then next up is the Kobold Bomber. And so the Kobold Bomber here, it's going to be targeting the gate and trying to do damage. It has an on-death effect though. On death, attack 3 against everything on its map tile, including other enemies. Now it only has 5 hit points. And so we'll place that there. And we'll place its token here. And now that we've filled in on this side, we'll work our way to the left coming down this way. And so if we start off with that corner spot there, and that's going to be the Kobold Spearman. And Kobold Spearman has evasion. It also targets any target, and it does an attack 2. And if this has a valid target, it does attack 1 against a different target on an adjacent map tile. And so we have to be careful taking damage from him. And he has 5 hit points himself, and he'll go right there. Next up is a Kobold Archer, which we've seen before. And so that's going to go in this spot here, starting off with 5 hit points. Next up is Kobold Warrior, and that's going to go here, as well as having 5 hit points. And then last is the Rune Golem here. And he's going to take this final spot on the bottom here, and he has 9 hit points. Now I did forget to set hit points for the Shaman here. He has 8. And the Demon Bear actually has 12, so we put 1 on 2 and 1 on 10 to indicate that. And then we have evasion tokens here for the Kobold Warrior and the Kobold Spearman. All right, so now we're ready to go here. And so it's going to be like the last time. It's going to be the enemies first. And so we first start on the right side here, and the Draugr Horde is going to move forward 1 space. Next up is the Bomber. The Bomber's going to move up. And then we have the Spearman. Again, no target here, so it's going to move there. And then we have the Archer here. he has no target either, moving up 1. Then the Kobold Warrior moves up 1. Then the Golem moves up 1. And then these last 2 here at the bottom move over. So everybody's kind of moving in here. But now we have a trap turn finally. And so the way it happens here is you use the traps to make attacks for enemies within range. And so these both have a 0 range. So the only target is the Kobold Spearman. And now he has evasion, so if we use this first one, the blade attack, to hit him, that's going to cause the evasion to happen. I had that flipped over on the wrong side there. But yeah, so he evades the first attack, and then he's going to take 2 times 1 attack from the blade trap, and that's going to bring him down to 3 hit points. Alright, so all the enemies have moved, the traps have been sprung, and now it's my turn to move my characters. And so the first thing I want to do is I want to advance with Harkon into this space here. And then I'm going to use his overpower attack, which is 3 damage against the Kobold Spearman, and killing him outright. So now he's dead. And then I'm going to go with Enyk, and I'm going to use Sprint and move 2 spaces into this spot here. I really don't like that archer that range 2. So Enyk's going to go all out trying to kill off this archer here. So Enyk will do first 2 damage with the engage action, bringing the Kobold Archer down to 3 hit points. And then the ultimate ability here. Now it can attack 3 anywhere, but she's just going to go ahead and attack, and that's going to do 3 damage, killing off the Kobold Archer and getting him out of there so he doesn't do any damage. Alright, so at this point, my turns are done, and now we go back to the enemy's turn. And so we start here. The Draugr Horde is going to move forward. Then the Bomber is going to move forward. The Kobold Warrior is moving up 1 space. And the Rune Golem, everybody's moving this time. With me killing off a couple of those guys early on, that really prevented taking a lot of damage here. Now, I don't like the Draugr being there at the gate, so I may have to start attacking. So now we go on to the traps phase. Now, the traps aren't going to be able to attack anybody right now. So they just remain dormant for now. So now it's Harkon's turn, and Harkon's going to go ahead and move 1 space over and gaining that block. I forgot to take this off a long time ago. Sorry about that. But he gains it now. And then he's going to go ahead and attack the Draugr Horde. He's going to use Cleave because the attacks reduce the damage down to 1 anyways. So he's going to attack twice for 1 each, and that'll do 2 damage total to the Draugr Horde. And then Enyk is going to go ahead and use Sacred Fire to do attack 1 against the Kobold Warrior. That's going to be evaded by the Warrior. But then she's going to use Block and gain attack 1 first, so dealing 1 damage. Then block 1 to her there. And then she's going to gain Retaliate 2 for the round. And so she's counting on that Kobold Warrior attacking her and planning on doing damage back to him. Alright, so now we go to the enemy's turn. The Draugr Horde its target is any target. It's at the gate now. So it's going to start off, and at this point we can choose which it can be because it's in range. So we're going to go ahead and take the damage with Harkon. He's got 1 armor, so it'll block 1 point, bringing him down to 5. And then it's going to be the Goblin Bomber's turn, moving forward 1 space here. And now we have the Kobold Warrior's turn, and it's going to go ahead and attack Enyk. Enyk has block or armor 1, so that's going to reduce it by 1, bringing her down to 4. And then she's going to retaliate with 2 damage. Now you can choose how much to retaliate, but each time you use a point of damage from this, it gets reduced. So you have to flip it or remove it completely if you use it all up. But we're going to go ahead and use both damage here on the Kobold, bringing it down 2 hit points. Now at this point, the Kobold's turn ends, so now he gets his evasion back. But then we move on to the Golem here. The Golem's going to move forward 1 space. And then these 2 are going to move forward 1 space. Now, if I'm not careful, the Wolf Clan Shaman is going to start healing 1 space away. So at this point, I want to go ahead and move Enyk away from that spot. We're going to sprint and move 2 spaces away into here. And then we'll go ahead and let's just do an attack 2 against Draugr Horde. It's only going to be 1 damage, bringing it down. So now the Draugr Horde has 5 health left. And then we'll go ahead and do a quick slash with Harkon as well as an engage. It's 2 attacks against the Draugr. Each reduce them down to 1 each, so he takes 2 damage down to 3. Okay, so now it's the enemy's turn here. And so the Draugr is going to go first. And I'm going to go ahead and let Harkon take the 2 damage from that. I forgot to remove these here. And then the bomber, its target is the gate, and it's at the gate, so it's going to go ahead and do 1 damage hitting the gate, bringing it down to 14. Next up, we have these 2 here. Now we get to choose which of the 2 we want to act first. We'll just have the Kobold walk in there, and then the Golem's going to go ahead and follow. And then these 2 are going to move up. Now the Wolf Clan Shaman can't heal because nothing's in range now. So both of these will move up. Now it's the Trap's turn. The Trap's going to go ahead and do piercing 1 damage against the Golem here. And that's going to bring it down to 8. And then we have 2 attacks coming from the Blade Trap. We'll use it against the Kobold. The first attack misses and the second one hits. I think I'll start off with Harkon here. We're going to do Go for the Throat, which is effectively just going to do 1 damage to the Draugr Horde. And then we'll use Cleave, which will do the remaining 2 damage, killing off the Draugr Horde completely. And next up, we're going to move Enyk into the next space over here. The Kobold Warrior is out of evasion, so I guess the only thing really to do at this point is just attack it and kill it off. And that'll kill off that Kobold Warrior. Alright, so it's the end of that turn there. And we move on to the enemies. The Goblin's going to go ahead and attack the gate for 1 hit point. And then the Rune Golem is going to attack. It's going to target the trap with the highest hit points, bringing it down by 2 damage. So now the Blade Trap is down to 3. And then we move on. We have the Wolf Clan Shaman. It's going to heal the player number of hit points on the enemy with the most missing hit points. And right now, that is the Rune Golem. It'll heal it to full now. And then it's going to go ahead and move forward 1 space. And then the bear is going to follow as well. Now it's the Trap's turn. And let's see. I kind of want to deal with this Wolf Clan Shaman. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do all 3 damage. 1 from the Spike Trap and 2 from the Blade Trap, bringing them down to 5. And so then we'll go ahead and use Harkon to move 1 space towards that spot here. And then he's going to use an ultimate ability now, double attack. Deal 2 and 3 damage, and that's going to just wipe out the Wolf Clan Shaman. But he still has a bottom attack here and another ultimate attack. We'll go ahead and use the other ultimate attack, dealing 3 piercing damage to the Rune Golem, bringing him down to 6. And then the bottom attack here, adding wounds to the bear. It's going to give him 2 bleeding, and this will occur at the end of the bear's turn every round. And then next up, we have, we'll do an attack 1 and a heal 1. So we'll heal him up 1 space. And then attack 1 on the bear and bringing him down to 11 hit points now. And then we'll use it in attack 2, dealing 2 more damage, and that'll bring the bear down to 9. Alright, so now we're back to the enemy's turn here. And so the bomber is going to go ahead and attack, dealing 1 damage to the gate. And then the bear is going to move forward, since its target is the gate. And so it'll move forward there. Just as a side note, the characters will never chase targets the wrong way away from the gate. So they will constantly move forward if their target is not in their space or within range. And then the Golem here is going to go ahead and attack the trap with the highest health here. And we'll just go ahead and take it off the Blade Trap, because the Blade Trap isn't really useful at this point. Alright, so the Blade Trap can't do any damage against the Golem because it does 2 1-attack damage, 2 attacks of 1 damage each, and he's got armor for both of those. But we do have the piercing 1 here that'll bring him down 1 spot there. I think we can kind of leave him alone, so we're going to move forward here into the gate map tile there so we can get rid of that bear before the bear does too much damage, because it's going to start doing 3 damage per attack against the gate. And I did forget to take down its bleeding here. It's bringing it down to 7. And so we're going to move 1 space with Enyk into this space here, and then we'll use Engage, dealing 2 damage to the demon bear. And then next up, Harkon is going to move 1 space and move into here. He'll gain defense 1, but I don't know that that's going to matter. But then Harkon's going to go ahead and use attack 3 against the bomber, bringing him down to 2 hit points left. Alright, so we move on to the enemies around here. The bomber's going to attack the gate, bringing it down to 11. The bear is going to attack the gate, bringing it down to 8. And then the rune golem is going to attack this trap. And now the trap's down to 1. Oh, it's getting real close. That gate only has 8 hit points left. Alright, so the first thing that we want to do is we're going to do an attack 2 with against the Kobold bomber. And that's going to kill him. Now, he has the on-death effect. Now, anything in its square is going to take 3 damage. And that's going to be kind of devastating. Once again, I forgot to take the bleeding off for the bear here. So the bear actually has 3 health left. That's going to kill off the bear. So he just blew up the bear. But both of my characters are going to be reduced down to 1 hit point. Boy, if I didn't heal my character, I would have been in trouble. And then the gate is also going to take 3 damage, and that's going to bring it down to 5 hit points left. But now both of these are gone here. I apologize, the spike trap didn't attack the rune golem. That would have brought him down to 4. I do have one other thing I can do with Harkon, a bottom action, but there's nothing to attack, so we'll just move it to a different spot. You do have to move it. But then we're going to go ahead and use Enyk, and we're going to move into this spot here, and then deal 2 damage, -1 for armor, bringing the rune golem down to 3. Now the rune golem's going to go, and it's going to attack the traps. We'll let it kill off the blade trap here. And then it's the trap's turn, dealing 1 damage to the rune golem, 1 piercing damage. And then, let's see, we'll go ahead and we'll move Harkon into the spot here and do Overpower, dealing 2 damage, finally killing off the last of the creatures here. Alright, so that completes the scenario. So now at this point, you will read an outcome, an epilogue, and tells you kind of what you've unlocked, what you've gained. Sometimes you gain unique items that you'll be able to use in future chapters and playthroughs. You might unlock characters and other things as well, even other traps. And so there are different things that come into play. You also earn these story tokens here that come into play later. They will come into play in chapter 2. And so there's this game progresses, and the story unfolds, and there's different things you'll end up being able to do. The traps get stronger, more powerful, because you can upgrade them, spending more money. Normally, each scenario you'll actually play 3 total rounds of phases. You know, the exploration, preparation, combat, and rewards. You'll do that 3 times. But in this first chapter, you only do that twice. And so in chapter 2, you're going to end up doing 3 of those. And it's going to be more involved because you have the shop and you can buy items and upgrade traps and make unique upgrades to traps as well. Again, I don't want to show you all those story elements because I don't want to spoil that part for you. Hopefully this gave you kind of a clear idea of how this game starts out and what's to be expected. So please ask me any questions in the comments below about the game, about my thoughts about the game if you'd like. Check out the link that I provided in the description so you can follow the campaign. Please also like and subscribe to this channel if you like the content you see here. And if you'd like to support me on Patreon, I have links in the description as well. And thank you to everyone who has supported me on Patreon thus far. And I thank you very much for joining me on Tabletop for One, and have a great night.